Welcome to another episode of At the Catch. Today, I've got a guy from Tennessee, Keith Shumacher, who's joining us, who probably just stepped off of his rowing machine or is going to step on his rowing machine as soon as we get done here. Keith, welcome.
How you doing today?
I'm great. So have you
Good.
today already?
Yes, I usually do that in the morning.
First thing in the morning.
Yep.
Good.
Every day.
Yeah. So for those of you not familiar with Keith, or Shumach, as his rival name is, he has rowed an insane amount of meters. And you're still on the top of the list, right, Keith?
I am the overall, I guess, leader in meters.
22, nearing 23?
I'm almost to 24-4. So I should be hitting 25 million about the third week of May if I continue at the pace I'm going right now.
Wow. So let's go back to the beginning and kind of learn about you and how you got started on this journey. So first of all, tell us about yourself, your background, what you've done, where you've lived.
Yeah, I was born in Linwood, California, grew up in Whittier, California, which is East LA, basically, and lived there till I was about 10 years old and then moved to Miami, Oklahoma. So I moved from the huge city to a little town in Oklahoma in the northeast corner and lived there for a few years and then went to Chicago area, Naperville I lived, and then to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So this is my dad he got out of California because of all the traffic, but this was back in the mid 60s. So it's crazy out there now compared to then. But we ended up in Iowa. And when I had a chance to get out of Iowa after 8 years of freezing to death up there, because being a California boy, I wasn't used to that. I moved to Tennessee and I've been here 49 years since then.
Wow.
I worked in the HVAC business for 44 years, retired from that. I was a lab tech, and then I ended up being computer programmer, basically, and hardware specialist for design engineering lab. And I did that for about 15, 20 years. And eventually I ended up over the lab, 45 people working for me. And pretty much had a fun time because I did what I enjoyed. So I'm one of the lucky people that did that. In the meantime, I guess you could say I was all over the place with my weight. So when I think it was 36, I weighed 330 plus pounds. The scale only went to 330. And I managed, I lost down to 168 in 7 months. So what I did was I started walking and then watching my fat grams. It was a T-factor diet back in the early 90s. And I lost all that weight in 7 months. And the main reason was I started running. And I fell in love with running. So I was a runner for 30 years. Well, my wife was very ill the last few years of her life. So I retired early at 63 to take care of her. So once she passed when we were 66, I kind of just lost, my way for everything, I guess you could say. So I quit running, but I was looking for something that I could still do. And in the running, I couldn't do like I used to because I used to run distance over 100 miles a week for the first 5 or 6 years. I know I've run over 100,000 miles with no problem in my life. So I always was hooked on exercise. And so I picked the Ergatta. I saw it. I said, that's perfect. I don't have anybody anymore to tell me I can't put it where I want. So I bought the rower. And my 2 granddaughters helped me put it together. And I fell in love with it. Now, I wasn't very good to start with because I'd used a rowing machine, but I had didn't have any idea about technique, anything. And this was just a different animal. But what I found out real early was I could get that feeling I used to get in my 30s and 40s for running, a 20-mile run or something, because as I got older, the running I didn't have that many physical problems for it, but I couldn't take the pounding anymore on my body. So the rowing got rid of that, and I'm wondering, why didn't I start this, 20 or 30 years ago on the rower? And that's where I got started, and I just fell in love with it. Now, I had the first 6 months I had that rower, I had a lot of medical problems with kidney stones, and I got an aneurysm in my aorta on my chest, but the doctors say that's fine. We just watch that with CT scans every year, so I've never had any problem. But I had high blood pressure. Of course, all that's under control. So I just fell in love with it, and the next thing I know, I'm competing with the man, Stick Steve. I'm right behind him all the time, and he's getting all the glory, and I'm just sitting in third and fourth place back there. But I think he would tell you that I was always behind him, and that's what kept driving him, because he knew I'd catch him at some point. So when Stick finally hit 20 million, it was, I think, maybe about 6 weeks after he hit it, I got there. And of course, he backed way off, and I've just kept going. But he's 8 or 9 years older than me. But I'm going to turn 70 in June. And I don't, for everybody, everybody to understand, I don't spend all day on the road. I don't do that. I know a lot of people probably think that, but I spend typically every day right now, I'm doing about 26 to 27K, close to 27K normally. And it takes me about an hour and 50 minutes to 2 hours. Now, I just do intervals. I'm not a free rower. I don't mind free rowing, but it's boring to me, and I don't like to sit for long periods. So I'll do a workout, get up, get a drink, and do things like that. But it typically takes me 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours is what I'm doing right now. I did at one point get up to doing about 35K a day, and that was about 2.5 hours to 2 hours and 40 minutes. But that was too much. And then I backed down, and then I found what I'm doing now will work the best, because I've been trying to lose weight for a few years, and it seems to be just perfect for weight control and my health. I'm in the best shape, to be honest with you, that I've been in 30 years and feel great. So I'm going to stick to it until I can't do it anymore. That's the short version, I guess. Now, my kids and grandkids sometimes think I'm possessed about things, because I'm very competitive. I don't like to lose at anything, but I do lose. And I can lose gracefully, but doesn't mean I like to lose. So.
And your doctors just say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Well, I had a stroke when I was 56 years old when I was running, but my job was high pressure, and I let too many things get stress. But I was fortunate, because my wife, I always called her the running Nazi. When something went wrong, she didn't want me running anymore, and which I understand. But what made her mad when I had that stroke was I ended up with a doctor that was a runner, and he encouraged me to go back, and I went back running. And I never really slowed down the exercise. I just did what they told me to do. Yeah. And I haven't had any problems. So
Runner's high, rower's high.
Yep. Either way, both of them. That's basically what I like. It makes me feel good. If I don't row, I don't feel as good. That's just simple as that. And I don't get the same feeling if I go walk for 2 hours. Yeah.
Do you multitask? What do you do? What's in the background? Is it music? Is it?
I typically typically I'm watching TV. A lot of times I've just recorded something the night before that I watch in the morning. And that's what I do. I do some music, but not a lot.
Yeah.
It's more to have a background, so I'm not concentrate completely on the rowing. and take your mind off of it when you're having a day when nothing's going right and you sure love to quit.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, that's quite a story. And for those of the people out there watching this, I think about people that get rowing and they hit that first million, which is a great accomplishment. I mean, you wonder about the percentage of people that start rowing that hit 1,000,000 meters. It's probably a pretty small number, but those people that want to keep going. Okay, the second one, the third one. What do you say to someone that says, I want to row 20 million meters?
Go for it. You just start, you basically start with a 10-minute row is what you do. And once you get used to doing it, you'll build up your stamina. I mean, when I started rowing, I had, cardio was no problem for me, but I still had to build up the stamina on the rower to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. And I'm not, in the class like you are. I'm class 5. I could probably be class 4 if I was serious about it, but I love where I'm at right now. It's, challenging. I don't do as much sprinting and racing as maybe some people. I went through that where I did a bunch of races and stuff. And of course, that's how I moved through the auto cal, was doing the races. If you're just doing regular stuff, the auto cal is kind of slow. But if you do races and stuff. So when I got to class 5, there was a period there for about 6 months that I finished, I think, in the weekly race, I finished 3rd maybe 2 or 3 times. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good accomplishment. I'm not the fastest guy, but I am very consistent at what I do. So I can maintain a good pace for a long time. And that's where I feel comfortable. So typically when I row, I try to stay on the top of my steady and into the early stages of race. And that's where I stay for the 26K that I'm going to row every day. And that's where I like.
I do 16,000 a day or 4 or 5 times a week. And that's good for me. But it's my hat's off to you guys that just go extra long. It's phenomenal. So Steve hit 20 and kind of tailed off. And he said he was going to do that. And he's living up to that. What is your long-term goal?
Well, right now, I'm going to be, I'm a little bit past 3 years. I guess 3 years and a couple months. 30 million at 4 years. At that point, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But that's my latest goal in my mind, is to hit 30 million. Because every milestone I hit now, nobody else has hit.
Sure.
So I figured, what the heck? Because there's only 2 or 3 people a month that are gaining on me on the leaderboard. And that's got to be somebody above me. So if I'm at 3rd or 4th place, there's only a couple of people that are even gaining on me. And there's a couple people out there, and there's always the ones that come up and go right to the top and do it for a month or so, and then they just disappear. And that's one thing I guess I've done. I think I've been in the top 5, and I could be wrong. At least in the last 2.5 years, I've probably been there at least 25 months in the top.
Well, I looked earlier today, and in 2022, you did 4.2 million. 23, you did 8.9. 24, 8.1. So far this year, you've done, well, this was 1.3 at the time. I'm trying to think of that maybe a couple months ago. So you're, just 8 million a year is a huge number.
What's insane? Because right now, what I'm doing, I'm on pace to do 9.6 million this year. But I'm not. What's the, when it's like it is now, where the weather's nicer, then it's harder to sit there if I have something to do. But I plan my day around getting my row in every day, is what I do. And when I'm retired, I can do that. I can basically just set whatever and do, which I understand why everybody else struggles where they go, how's he do that? Well, I don't have other things to do. I don't have kids running around chasing and all that stuff.
Now, through your rowing journey, how has your form improved? Do you find with good form becomes efficiency and everything gets easier.
Yeah. Well, the key was that I kept, seeing what everybody would write on the Facebook thing and stuff people would talk about, a lot of stuff that you would show videos or stuff that, you talked about and stuff. So my biggest thing the first year is I just wrote. Since then I made sure that I went through everything, and the SPM is the key to everything. And anybody that rows long enough knows that's the key. It's key to the power and everything else. But it depends on what you're trying to do. So I actually will do a little higher SPM sometimes because I can get more meters in than I can if I'm doing it the other way. But I've went through all the SPM workouts, intervals, and then the hybrid. Once you can do those hybrid ones, then you can about do anything you want. And that's where you have to really gut it and do a slower SPM to be able to do something. And that pretty much teaches you. And I think it helps with your form tremendous. Define where all the power's at and everything else. Now, I'm not saying I got perfect form. I'm sure I don't.
Everyone knows who you are from the leaderboard. Do you have a bunch of rivals through the Ergatta platform?
There's most of the rivals is just people that, either I've had acquaintance with and stuff, and then I have all these young kids that are always wanting to be rivals. So I go ahead and accept it, And I guess they just look on the leaderboard, who would they like to beat?
Yeah.
Yes, that's why they do it. So I don't pay that much attention to the rivals and stuff. I always, kept an eye what Stick was doing, the Scottish Princess, what she was doing, because they were always ahead of me. It's like I think I told Stick one time, you can't let me win one time or go, be ahead one time. So no, I don't do that much with rivals, basically. Because at this point, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm doing this for my health. But first couple of years, when we had that first challenge that we did, I think it was in 2023 in July with the meteor, and I just dominated the thing. Because I think I never did that many meteor workouts for the whole month. I think I did 963K for that month. And over 250,000 points. And I got sick of that for a little while after that. But to me, I was being too competitive, spending too much time and stuff. And
your teammates appreciated it.
Oh, yeah. But then Ergatta, the second time, limited to 2 weeks, which, I'm saying, well, they're not going to let anybody dominate anymore, which is fine. I understand that because you got to make things competitive. So I totally understand. So I haven't done any competing, anything like that here in the last, year or so.
Well, it's nice to keep the member events going and mix it up.
I love that that's the one thing when I first got the rower and the Facebook group this was the first group that I'd ever been a part of on Facebook that they weren't running each other down. It was all positive. I can tell you, I'm in a couple of groups. I've got a Shelby GT500. I love hot rod cars. And I've got an 800 and some horsepower Shelby sitting in my garage. But those groups are brutal. If you say something that doesn't line up with something, they'll just ridicule you. And I thought, well, this group is just positive. It didn't matter who you were or what you did. If you posted something, everybody'd celebrate. And I thought, this is a good place to be. So that's another good reason why I love the Ergatta.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've had the first Ergatta Regatta to, bring some of us together and meet in person and have a fun time on the water. Would you ever do that?
I don't know because I don't know. I really don't know if I would or not. If I was younger, yeah, if I was younger, I probably would, to be honest with you, because I'm very competitive. But at my age now, you don't want to fall or you don't want to do things because you don't bounce back like you used to.
Well, fortunately, only fallen in water, but it is incredibly
Yeah.
humbling. Um, just because what you do on an erg does not translate to the water,
Yeah,
but
I can imagine. Yeah.
a great time indeed. Um, all right. Well, thanks for sharing with us. Appreciate the insight and the wisdom you've been able to impart to us, and just to keep on going. Uh, you're going to be the person to chase for years to come. And for those people that are putting in 1,000,000 meters a month now, and noticed this morning there's one guy that's up there. Actually, I don't know if guy or girl, but they're up there, and that's awesome. Um, in a couple of years, I may be interviewing them when they hit 20 million, which is great.
You can do you can do whatever you set your mind to do. So
Absolutely. The cautionary tale is just stay healthy, don't overdo it. You don't want repetitive use issues. Take care of your elbows, your knees. Um, don't
yeah,
overdo it.
when your body starts, that's one thing I learned from running. When your body starts giving you pain, it's telling you something, and that is
Absolutely.
to address it. Yeah, because I went through a lot of that as a runner, so I understand when my body says it's time to back up a little bit.
And your knees thank you for finding a low impact sport.
Yes, they do. Like I said, if I had, if I could have had that machine 30 years ago, I would have been over 100 million meters. No, and again, and the rower holds up. I had a Swin Aerodyne. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
My thing that I wore it out in a year. I I busted the frame, the weld on this thing because I've always been extreme on a piece of equipment. I had a total gym. I got a brand new frame because I broke it in 7 years, and it had a lifetime warranty. So we're gonna see how good this water rower is.
Well, it's a good thing wood doesn't rust.
Yeah, that's a rust. That's exactly right. But it's a beautiful rower for people that, think that, well, maybe it's a high dollar thing. I'm telling you, for the money and the use I get out of it, that's nothing for the amount of money.
I mean, the subscription, the initial cost, for
Yeah.
your health, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
especially for people that so many people on the platform. And it's great to see that I've learned over the years that spouses that both row. And I love to hear that, two people are like, okay, you row now. Get off. I need to row.
Yeah.
Oh, you're off. No, let's go. Like, that's great to hear. And for kids that get on, I, I wish my kids would. Kids, if you're watching this,
You'd be surprised. They might pick it up someday, but they don't want you to know that you had anything to do with it.
that's probably true. All right. Thanks again, Keith. Enjoyed meeting you. Um, thanks for being on at the catch, and just keep on rowing.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah.